let's zoom in a bit here and let's take a look at the first reaction, and that's a Grignard plus formaldehyde. So for this, let's take this molecule here, and let's see how that reacts down the line with formaldehyde. So first step here is to make a Grignard, so we're going to do this with diethyl ether in it. That will give us, so that's the carbon that's making this bond with MgBr. Make that a straight line there. And there's your Grignard. So this thing right here, remember, is essentially your R group, right? And collectively it's your Grignard, right, reagent. Okay. Now we're going to react that with a bunch of stuff here. So we'll see this first step happening more than once, but let's go through and let's look at the reaction with formaldehyde. So there's formaldehyde. Arrow-wise, the way that we would show this is the following way. We would take this set of electrons and we're going to come over and we're going to grab a hold of that. Remember, both sides of that face. So where I put that bullet, that's what's in that box, right? Now what that's connected to is this carbon right here. So we're going to come down and we're going to write just a carbon there. Now that carbon is connected to what? Well, it's connected to an oxygen, and then count them up, 1, 2 H's. So that's not a chiral center. We don't have anything to worry about. So step 1, make the Grignard. Put in here a step 2. And then our last step is that acid workup 3. We're adding H3O plus. Right? So H3O plus just puts a proton down there at the end. So then we draw out our structure, right? And then that would just have an OH on it. So that's your product. Well, pretty straightforward, right? All right, so for our secondary alcohols, we're going to have to use an aldehyde that has at least a carbon on it. So let's take a look down here below. So formaldehyde has 2 H's, so we put an extra carbon on there and you get a secondary alcohol. So let's go through and let's do this. Let's start off here with just our Grignard, so we don't have to rehash that step that's up above. So to that, let's add this molecule. This molecule's name is acetaldehyde. Right? So when this reacts, it's that carbon that has that negative charge. When we think of them as being separated, we're going to come around and we do this. So what that's going to give us is that's that part right there. That's your Grignard part, right? And then that's going to be connected to this carbon right here. So we're going to come down and I'll just make this green just so we're kind of sure about what that is. And what are we connected to here? Well, let's look at it first. So don't write this out, but let's think about it. We're connected to an H, we're connected to a CH3, and we're going to be connected to an O-. That's 4 different groups. So that's going to be a chiral center. So we need to consider that. So rather than writing it out like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of look into the future and recognize that. And then I'm going to draw my methyl group in plane. Right? So that methyl group is this CH3 here. And then I'm going to draw my O- here. Okay? So if we form this, then we definitely are going to form this guy. Okay? Right? Because you can do both faces of it, right? And then our last step here would be the addition of H3O plus, and that would give us our 2 products here. So you get this guy here and then that guy there. And guys, what's the relationship between those two guys? Well, if you said they're enantiomers, then nicely done. Okay, so how about a tertiary alcohol? Well, tertiary alcohols will be formed by reacting with a ketone. So let's take a different spin on this one. Let's start off here with this guy, kind of like we did in the first step, and let's look at how the book sometimes might write this. So you might see this in 3 steps. So that's your first step. That makes the Grignard. The second step here, right, adds the electrophile. And the third step is your workup. So 3 steps there. All right, so let's go through them. Step number 1, MGBR. So there's your Grignard. Okay. Step number 2 takes this. Now, when you look at it, remember that carbon there is making a bond with this carbon here. And that has 1, 2, 3 groups on it, and then this guy right here is going to be the 4th group. So there's 4 different groups there. So this carbon right here is going to become a chiral center. So see if you can follow the way that I'm going to write this out. So 1, 2, 3 up here. That carbon is the one that I highlighted as being just blue right here. It's going to come down and it's going to make a bond with the other carbon. And then I want to keep this ethyl in plane. So then I'm going to go 1, 2, just like that. Now that carbon, the one that I'm circling right now, that carbon is going to have a methyl on it, and it will have an oxygen on it. So we get this. All right, and we're going to do that from both faces. So we're going to come over, do the same thing, except now we'll put our O- here, and then our methyl group pointing back like that. All right, now the last step here is the easy one. This is where we add H3O+. And again, we're just going to protonate these guys, right? So you can draw that out on your own. And then we get 1, 2, 3, 4. These guys here with your OH. So there's product number 1. And then we get our second product with what's our OH in front of you and that guy in the back. All right, guys. So these, again, these are, in this case, enantiomers of each other.